Welcome to the 12th episode of Ultimate Overview, a show where we go over each item in Fortnite and explain its strengths, weaknesses, and its role in the game today. My name is Jackson, and in today's episode we're going to talk about the single-shot superpower, the rocket launcher. The rocket launcher has had a fairly straightforward history. Starting in the preseason, it came in rare through legendary, dealing 110, 116, and 121 damage per shot. The rare variant would be vaulted in Update 5.40, leaving epic and legendary variants in for the remainder of Chapter 1. Chapter 2 Season 1 would readjust the damage of the RPG and give it common and uncommon variants, meaning it now dealt 70, 85, 100, 115, and 130 damage per shot. The common variant of the rocket launcher would be quickly vaulted in a hotfix shortly after the launch of Chapter 2, and the green and blue RPG would be vaulted at the start of the next season. For the remainder of Chapter 2, the RPG would remain in the loot pool as an incredibly rare item, only available through things like supply drops or Galactus Gorgers or one single NPC on the island. The uncommon and rare variants only came back one time during Chapter 2 Season 4 as the pumpkin launcher during FORTNITEMARES, but otherwise the epic and legendary variants remain the only version available. The RPG would be vaulted at the start of Chapter 3 Season 1 and wouldn't return to the main game since, with the exception of FORTNITEMARES as the pumpkin launcher during Chapter 3 Season 4. It would return for a little while in Chapter 4 Season 1 before being delegated to a FORTNITEMARES exclusive again, returning as the pumpkin launcher in Chapter 4 Season 4. It would be unvaulted once again for Season OG, this time in rare through legendary, before being vaulted once more. It has recently returned for Chapter 5 Season 4's FORTNITEMARES as the pumpkin launcher again, making the RPG the first weapon that's been in the main game when its Ultimate Overview episode has released. Now that my yap session about the history is over, we can talk strategy. Typically, the rocket launcher is going to replace a sniper slot in the inventory, which generally means your loadout is going to be very close range focused. Because of that, I can really only recommend the RPG in two scenarios. Team game modes, where one person carries a sniper and the other a launcher, and in end games when long range isn't as much of a factor. When you're using it, you've got to keep in mind that RPG is really meant for build destruction more than it is for player damage. Well, yes, landing an RPG shot on someone does do a lot of damage. Most of the time people are going to build against it. I mean, this even happens in zero build, just instead of building, they throw down a porta bunker or a shield bubble or something. That's why, if you're gonna use it, you gotta master threading the needle. See, the rocket launcher is most effective when it's unexpected. Most players, for better or worse, are trying to conserve materials. Now, conserving materials sometimes means that they'll leave a tiny little opening in their box that no ordinary gun could damage through, but the RPG can. Even if the player isn't exposed in these situations, this point could still be good to go for if it's what's holding their entire structure up. Landing these shots can make or break a fight, since once the opponent knows you have an RPG, they're going to play much differently. Because of that and the very limited 12 reserve rockets you get, you really need to make sure you're optimizing your gameplay as much as possible when using the rocket launcher. However, if you're not as concerned about rockets, there's always Pump RPG. Pump RPG is a pretty simple strategy, though it's rare to see in practice. Basically, you'll want to use this when your opponent is turbo building only one build tile thick. What you do is pretty simple. Fire the RPG at them from about 10-ish meters out, then swap to the pump and shoot at them right when the rocket lands. This is guaranteed damage that opponents can't really avoid, which makes it incredibly deadly, especially if you just started a fight. Another similar strategy is double RPG, though this really only works in duos. Having two people fire RPGs at the same time at the same spot practically guarantees that one of those rockets will breach to the other side and deal some heavy damage. Now, you used to be able to do this with Heavy Sniper on RPG, but since the Heavy Sniper got nerfed to only one-shot wood, it's usually not worth it anymore. This can also work with spray weapons, though, again, this is much more difficult to pull off since you really need to thread the needle with that. On the tier list, I'm going to put the rocket launcher in B tier, below the grenade launcher but above medkits. The RPG is always a solid option, and it's always been great for one person on a team to carry, but it's a bit finicky to work with in solos, especially since your long-range capabilities are usually nerfed in order to carry it in a good loadout. Anyhow, if y'all enjoyed everything this video had to offer, consider subscribing because it helps out a lot. The next video in this series is going to go with the semi-automatic sniper rifle, so stay tuned for that soon. I've been Jackson, and this was Ultimate Overview. Thanks, guys.